How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan. Another day, another episode, talking about the infield today. Brian Cashman had some interesting comments about second base. And listen, trading Caleb Durbin in the deal that got Devin Williams, obviously, we moved Nestor Cortez as well. He was the incumbent at second base. He was the guy that was projected to take over at least a solution. Now the Yankees don't have a solution. And Cashman had a quote. I want to talk about that and really the players that we like in the infield and kind of have a conversation about where this kind of direction is going. Of course, we don't have a first baseman right now. I know the report that said Cody Bellinger is going to be playing center field was false. Aaron Boone said that himself. They have a lot of flexibility, right? Like the positional flexibility that Cody Bellinger gives you allows you to be super broad in your free agent and trade market search. You know, whether you need to fill center field or left field or first base, you can do a lot of different things with Cody Bellinger. That's why he was kind of a priority for the Yankees, because it opened up the whole market for them to kind of explore. But, you know, when it comes to second base, now you have a kind of an interesting position you need to fill, and you're probably not going to spend the money that is required to get a guy like Alex Bregman, especially because that contract will certainly age poorly, like many of you believe in the comments. But Cashman said, you know, he's thinking about internal candidates like Oswald Peraza and Oswaldo Cabrera. And I just want to say before we get started here, Ryan, I hate everything about that. I hate both of those guys in starting roles, especially Peraza. Cabrera has -4 DRS, you know, in like 70 innings at second base in one of the last 2 years. So definitely not good, but I want to get your thoughts on second base. The quotes from Cashman about this, I know it's probably just BS. He's just saying what he has to say until they find a solution. But what are you thinking about second base right now, the infield, and obviously some of the options available?
Yeah, so I think through filtering through all of the players, you know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. I think the best fit for me right now in terms of an infielder is Ha-Seong Kim. Now, Ha-Seong Kim, he should be around, he should be returning. I don't think it's going to be at the start of the season. I think he's going to have to take a couple of weeks into the season to come back. But honestly, that cheapens his deal. Like he cannot ask a team to guarantee him 4 or 5 years if he's not healthy on opening day. You know what I mean? He may look to get more of a flyer contract. Maybe it's a 2-year deal with an opt out. He's entering his age 29 season. This is one of the premier defensive players in the league. Over the last 3 seasons, been an above average hitter each and every time. He's a 106 WRC plus dating back to 2022 with a 336 OBP. That's solid. It's an 11% walk rate, a 17.9% strikeout rate. He swiped 22 bases last year, 121 games. The year before that, he swiped 38 in 152 games. He's got, you know, solid power. He hit 17 home runs in 152 games in 2023. Hit 11 in 121. If he's a double-digit home run guy with the defense and the base running he has, you know, this is an excellent addition you can make to your infield. His career defensive numbers at second base. So in 2023, the most recent season he played there, he played 856 innings out there, 10 defensive runs saved, 7 outs above average, 5 fielding run value. In his career, about 1,000 innings, which is about a season worth of playing time at the position, 50 defensive runs saved, 8 outs above average, 6 fielding run value. He can play shortstop, he can play third base, he plays shortstop and third base at an elite level. This is a premium defensive player. This is a premium base runner. This is a premium OBP guy. This is one of those players where you can slot him in for about a 3 to 4 WAR season. In fact, if you take his last 3 seasons, so he has a 10.5 WAR over 1,600 plate appearances, 1,678 to be exact, and you multiply that and, you know, you kind of average it out per 600 plate appearances. He's averaging a 3.8 WAR per 600 plate appearances. That's really good. That's better than Gleyber Torres. We're talking about trying to make upgrades. If I'm better at second base than I was last year, if I'm better at left field than I was last year, if I'm better in the rotation than I was last year, if I'm better in the bullpen than I was last year, that's when you can start saying, hey, maybe, just maybe, we've built a team that might be slightly better than the 2024 team we ran out last year, right? I don't think the Yankees can do that doing patchwork at second base. I 100% agree with you. Oswaldo Cabrera is not the answer at second base. And to also your point, I highly doubt Brian Cashman wants to go into a season with Oswaldo Cabrera being a starting second baseman. You know, he mentioned DJ. I don't even think DJ has the range to play second anymore. Think about how the shift rules have changed the way you can play defense at second base. Instead of staying back in the outfield to, you know, scoop up these screaming liners from left-handed batters that they get pulled, or, you know, instead of being able to aggressively shift up the middle, you can't do those things anymore, right? You need range in the infield. You need range at second base. It's why I'm not against, you know, hey, let's get a third base, let's move Jazz second, because Jazz has excellent speed and range. But Ha-Seong Kim, his problem may be throwing after shoulder surgery, not his range. His range should be fine. He's still an incredible athlete. He's a ridiculously good athlete. And Alex, I was looking at this new Baseball Savant statistic. It's base running runs. This made me honestly, I feel like when you watch the games, you got the same feel as well. So this metric dates back to 2016. It's base running value as a team, right? The Yankees were the second worst base running team of the StatCast era. The 2024 Yankees were the second worst base running team of the StatCast era. And I actually looked at teams with -10 or worse base running runs. The Yankees were -16. That is the second worst mark ever, only better than the 2018 Blue Jays. Among all those teams at -10 or worse, only one other team outside of the 2024 Yankees made the playoffs. That's the 2016 Mets. And the 2016 Mets are a one-and-done team in the wild card. So that means that the 2024 Yankees are the exception. When you're that bad at base running, you are a bad baseball team in most cases. The Yankees were so good on offense that they were able to offset it. But if you want to improve your offense, base running is how you do that. Taking extra bases. The Yankees were awful at taking extra bases. Look at how the Dodgers beat you in game 1. Missed play in right field, take an extra base for Enrique Hernandez. That allowed him to get to third, sac fly, made it 1-0. Shohei Ohtani, taking the extra base, taking third base, right? That's how they tied up the game. If they don't do that, the Yankees win game 1. The Yankees win game 1 of the 2024 World Series. What if, in game 5, there was some weird base running stuff for the Dodgers, and they didn't know what was going on when, the Yankees are making different errors or anything of the sort. The Yankees might have ran themselves out of that inning, honestly, right? We've seen the Yankees run themselves out of innings. Ha-Seong Kim is a premium base runner. He is a premium defensive player, and for the last 3 years, he's been a firmly above average offensive player. He is a perfect fit for the Yankees. There's no qualifying offer. If you have to start Oswaldo Cabrera for the first, kind of like what they did at third base last year, you start him for the first 3 weeks of the season, okay, fine. But I know Ha-Seong Kim is going to make my infield defense premium, man. You've got Jazz at third, Volpe at short, Ha-Seong Kim at second. Let's say you get Nathaniel Lowe to play first. You've got quite a ball club. You've got a team that's balanced, that has a lot of OBP threats, that can hit for a little bit of power. Personally, if you get Ha-Seong Kim, I'd like to see a first baseman who can hit the ball a little bit harder than Nathaniel Lowe and drive a little, generate a little more home run power. But I think do you really, at that point, are you really caring about the type of player you're getting, or you just care that you get good players? You know what I mean? I think that at some point, that has to be part of the equation. Maybe it's a Yandy Diaz, right? Someone who also doesn't really have home run power, but, gets on base a ton. Maybe it's a Carlos Santana, right? Maybe go cheap at second and first. You spend about, $16 million at both positions. Santana provides you with, 23 home runs last year. You'll take it, right? The Yankees, I think, are projected to hit 240 something home runs according to Steamer. I would like a little more pop, another just pure thumper, but it's kind of hard to find that. Christian Walker would qualify as a pure thumper, but I think you and I can agree the odds that the Yankees just kind of punt 2 more draft picks, I'm growing more skeptical of that. I'm not saying they're not interested in Walker. I'm a little bit skeptical of it. Don't you think the smoke around Goldschmidt and Santana is a kind of an indication that maybe they're considering, should we really go expensive at first? Do we really want to go to the contract demands Walker has? From my understanding of the situation, Walker wants a 4th year. The Yankees do not want to give him a 4th year unless it really lowers the AAV or something like that. And Alex, I don't know about you. I wouldn't give Christian Walker a 4th year. Even if it lowered the AAV, I wouldn't.
He's already 33.
I get hesitant around 3 years. There's no shot I'm doing 4 years. So if Walker gets a 4-year off from someone else, good luck to them. Good luck to Walker. I have nothing against Christian Walker. I think he's a great dude. He's a great ball player. But I'm not giving him 4 years. That's my take on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, if there was a team that was willing to give him 4, he'd already be signed there. That's my take on it. You know what I mean? He'd be yes. He would take that in a heartbeat because he's 33. So I'm of the opinion 3 years out after the second year, that's the only way I'm going after Christian Walker, because those 2 draft picks are valuable these days. The Yankees develop pitchers and they trade them away, and that's how they get better sometimes. So, I mean, Ha-Seong Kim, I do really like this idea. And, you look at his WRC plus, right, of 101 this past year. He was at 110 in 2023 at 17 homers. Now, I don't think that really translates to Yankee Stadium because he pulls the ball to left field a lot. So you're probably not going to see even decent power from him. You're going to get more contact. He hit 260 with a 35% OBP. This is in 23, but last year hit 233 with a 330 OBP. Only played 121 games, but before that he played 2 straight seasons of 150 games or more. He had a really good walk rate, 12.3%. I mean, this is a guy, Ryan, you've said it before, ranks in the 92nd percentile in whiff rate, 98th percentile in chase rate. Maybe he gets even better. Maybe he goes to the Yankees and improves. But Here's the thing. Gleyber Torres finished last year with a 104 WRC plus. That's obviously like slightly above average, but if you could get Ha-Seong Kim to kind of match a 104 WRC plus, but he brings you elite defense and elite base running, you're getting significantly more value for what expects to be a pretty similar price tag between him and Gleyber Torres. So you're saying the range, the defense, all those things play a big part to me. But here's another stat that kind of sells me on Kim. His numbers with runners in scoring position are pretty good. He had 257 with a 376 OBP, 445 slugging rate, 831 OPS. This is a guy who doesn't strike out very often. He had an 18% strikeout rate, actually a little bit less, 15% strikeout with runners in scoring position. Guy had 26 hits over 101 at bats. Like, this is somebody who's going to do some good stuff with you with the runners on base. And Ryan, like, you're talking about Kim as a bottom half of the order guy. You're talking about him batting 7th or 8th, probably. You have 2 elite defensive players, run prevention, guys that are hitting around an average level. I mean, I think people forget, like, if you have an average ball player, average offensive ball player hitting 8 or 9, you're ahead of the game already. Like, people put their worst players in the 7, 8, 9 spots most of the time. So if you have someone who's slightly above average, 101 to 105, you say 101 to 110 WRC plus, you're already ahead of the game. You have a slightly above average player in the bottom half of your lineup who plays elite defenses and elite base runner. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, what kind of contract do you think Kim would get? I think I saw a 40-year, $49 million deal as a projected option. What's $12.25 mil? That's dropping the bucket for a player like that.
That would be gorgeous for the Yankees. Low AAV, 4 years. You get a guy in his age 29, 30, 31, 32 seasons. Are you freaking kidding me? $12 million, secure second base. You don't really have someone who's going to come up in the next year or two. It's a tradable contract, too. If he plays well and you go, shoot, we have an infield prospect who came out of nowhere. Let's say Jorbit Vivas crushes in AAA, right? And you're like, this guy's the goods. Or, in 2-3 years, George Lombard Jr., like, this guy's the goods, right? Man, Ha-Seong Kim, he's quite the ball player, right? He is a high-level ball player. And when I talk about high-level ball players, right, what does that mean? I'm not talking about a superstar. I'm talking about someone who's going to contribute value. It doesn't matter if he's not even as good of a hitter this year as he was in the previous years. He's going to be a productive baseball player. Over the last 3 years, and again, he missed time in 2024 with that shoulder issue that we discussed. He's been one of the most valuable players in baseball. He's one of just 50 position players to put up at least 10 WAR over the last 3 seasons. He has more WAR the last 3 years than Vlad Guerrero Jr., for example. If you look at the infield, let's say second base, like how does he rank among second basemen? His 10.5 WAR, he would be one of only 6 second basemen hit that mark. We talk about Nico Hoerner versus Ha-Seong Kim, right? Nico Hoerner is a 105 WRC plus hitter the last 3 years. We were willing to trade some serious prospects for him, right? Like if the Cubs made him available and he was someone the Yankees could attain, I would have loved Nico Hoerner. Now, granted, a year younger, don't get me wrong, there are differences, not coming off a shoulder injury. Although, one thing you could say is that Nico Hoerner is getting an elbow surgery. So these guys are both people who are coming back from surgery, although Nico Hoerner is expected to be ready for opening day. And over the last 3 seasons, 106 WRC plus for Ha-Seong Kim, 105 WRC plus for Nico Hoerner, a 337 OBP for Nico Hoerner, a 336 OBP for Ha-Seong Kim.
So his numbers of runners in scoring position are quite bad, Nico Hoerner.
Yeah, and
677 OPS.
I understand that clutch can be a variable of just opportunity situation. I'm sure Nico Hoerner is a tough guy. I mean, I'm not questioning his grit or whatever. But even from an average perspective, this is what encourages me. Ha-Seong Kim put up a 261 BABIP last year and still put up a 101 WRC plus. I see no reason for him to have a 261 BABIP in 2025. And if he has a 300, 290 BABIP and he hits 260 for you, if you get that 2023 production, 260 average, 351 OBP, that's a leadoff hitter. You could lead him off. You could straight up just say, all right, we're leading off Ha-Seong Kim. That's perfect. That's awesome. If he's saying 6th for you, 7th for you, man, he's more of that 101, 105 WRC plus. Dude, it's a guy who's going to put the ball in play and hit for decent average, right? And you want that with running scoring position. With running scoring position, hits and are valuable, but just as valuable as that is all right, I don't have a pitch to hit here. I'm passing the baton. I'm passing the baton to Austin Wells, let's say, or Jason. Could you imagine Ha-Seong Kim going, you know what? I didn't get a pitch to hit. I'm going to hand it right off to Jason Dominguez, and Jason Dominguez plays the way we think he can play. you're going to have a lot of runs scored. You have a deep, kind of suffocating lineup, right? And, he has a lot of the skills that the Yankees seem to really like in terms of OBP skills. The walk rate, man, it's back-to-back seasons with a 12% walk rate or better. That's super enticing. This guy was a stud in the KBO. He has one bad year at the major league level. It was his first year here, adjusting to the major leagues, and then since then he's consistently been basically a 3 to 4 WAR player. Now, if DRS, if defensive runs saved is kind of like your cup of tea in terms of defense, Baseball Reference loves Ha-Seong Kim. Like, Baseball Reference probably has a more favorable view of Ha-Seong Kim than even I do, and I love Ha-Seong Kim. Over the last 3 years, so it's like a 3-4-2 WAR year.
At second base, dude, he has in 2 seasons, 1,000 innings, almost break even. He has 15 DRS and 8 outs above average.
These WAR numbers are going to make you go, what the hell? He had a 5.8 WAR in 2023 on Baseball Reference and a 4.9. Could you imagine you get a 5 WAR season out of him?
For 12 mil?
Right, this is a bargain. This is a steal, and this is where I would get frustrated with Brian Cashman if the player had interest in playing for the Yankees. Now, granted, here's one thing that Ha-Seong Kim that could hurt the Yankees' chance at Ha-Seong Kim: they cannot offer him a starting job at shortstop. And why is that important? Well, if you can't offer him a starting job at shortstop, and his goal is to hit the market again, you're kind of hurting his market a little bit.
Right.
If a team like the Braves signed him, who needed shortstop, but he played shortstop full time, he's going to get shortstop money. There's a difference between shortstop money and second base money. Huge difference between second base, shortstop, and second base money. But granted, he could still be a very valuable player. We could still help him make a ton of money, and we're still putting a significant spotlight on him if he's playing in New York.
Yeah.
He puts up a 110 WRC plus and plays great defense in New York. He might get $100 million. He might get $100 million. Like, that's how valuable this kind of player can be. Look at the money Javier Baez got. Look at the money Trevor Story got. Look at the money these guys got. And look at their walk years. Now, Baez had a really good walk year. Story had a mediocre walk year and elbow problems. Correa had an excellent walk year, but his injury issues, obviously that played a role in what he was able to do. It's just a matter of, like, if you are Ha-Seong Kim and you are the New York Yankees and you look at the fit, I know that, as you mentioned, the swing doesn't necessarily play great here, but there is room for, like, hey, I'm going to hit the ball the other way a couple of times. I'm going to, kind of hit some line drives the other way. I'm going to sneak the ball maybe into the left field corner. I'm going to hit the ball into the gaps. I can, like, shoot grounders through, whatever it may be. Or I could just work walks. Like, the walk rates at Yankee Stadium are a lot higher because it's harder to command the ball in those windy conditions. And also it's Yankee Stadium. I don't know if this is data proven, but the fact that walk rates are high at Yankee Stadium, though I feel that has a little bit to do with, like, pressure, fans, New York, right? There has to be a little element of that, right? Where, like, if you're a road pitcher and you're already walking the first 2 guys, you got shit running down your leg at that point. You know what I mean? For lack of better terms, you know what I mean? You're leaving a piss trail when you walk off the mound and go into the dugout after you walk 3 guys. So, I think that plays a role in all this too. And I think what we both agree with, though, is they cannot run out what they have at second base. You can sell me the idea of, like, Carlos Santana comes in, mentors Ben Rice, and, if Santana doesn't play well, Rice takes over. Sure, right? Fine, whatever. If it doesn't work, go get a first base at the deadline. Cool. But if I have to watch Oswaldo Cabrera as the penciled-in starting second baseman, not because someone's hurt, not because Ha-Seong Kim is rehabbing, not because, I guess those are the only 2 acceptable answers, but because the Yankees didn't acquire anybody else, yeah, we're gonna have hell to raise. I don't believe that they're gonna do that. I have faith. Brian Cashman is very active. The Yankees have made 3 moves in, like, 10 days since losing Juan Soto. When you talk about breakups, Juan Soto and the Yankees had a breakup, and it was an ugly breakup, Alex. It was not a pretty one. Fans aren't happy. Organization doesn't seem to be very happy to lose Soto. And the Yankees have basically turned around to the Mets and said, we broke. But you're broke. We're up. You know what I mean? They've made moves. The Yankees have done a really good job of, staying afloat. I'd say right now, if you compare the rosters, the Yankees are a better team than the Mets, as it stands right now. And that's not making the comparison to say that, like, there's, like, the Yankees need to be worried about the Mets or whatever it may be, but to say, given the circumstances, which is that the Mets won the Juan Soto sweepstakes, they dropped a wad of cash over Soto's head, they made a statement, and it is a statement to make Juan Soto the highest paid player ever and take him from the Yankees. Let's be honest. Let's not be fools about this, right? See, a lot of people going like, it doesn't matter. No. Like, it does matter to an extent, but the Yankees have done a great job pivoting. And I feel like, you said this yesterday. I'm very happy with the job Cashman's done. He's done a very good job of, like, I think, asset management. We haven't hemorrhaged our future. The only long-term contract we've added thus far is Max Fried, and Max Fried's someone who could age well with his skill set. I'm pretty thumbs up right now. I'm like 2 thumbs up on what they've done so far. Devin Williams is just a star player to add. You can still add relievers. The infield market still, the first base market's still all out there. And you can sell me on a lot of different ideas. There are like 5 or 6 lanes for this team to get better and meaningfully better. And for better to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, this team's winning the AL, I think, this year. That kind of stuff. I don't know how you feel about the situation, but I'm happy with how they've pivoted thus far to this point.
Yeah, so far I'm good with what they've done, and it's not over yet, right? You get an elite lefty starting pitcher, an insurance policy for Garrett Cole at his age. You get Cody Bellinger, whose positional flexibility is certainly valuable, and they get him for basically nothing. They just have to pay him, and the Yankees can pay. You obviously get Devin Williams, a lockdown, one of the best closers in the game, if not the best when he's on his stuff. And listen, like Ha-Seong Kim, there's a couple things. Like, you think about the transition from Gleyber Torres. Well, what is Cashman looking for? He's already said it. Better base running and better defense. Those two things, and I have a variable here, Ryan, that we probably haven't even considered yet that I think should be considered. Obviously, you get the massive improvement defensively from Ha-Seong Kim. Really solid swing. He can elevate the ball sometimes. This is a guy who does some good stuff with the runners in scoring position. Like, there's a couple of really, really solid key attributes that I like about him. But how about the fact that he's been going up against NL pitching this whole time? You know what I mean? Like, how about the fact that he's been going up against better competition? Like, if he goes to the AL and he goes to the Yankees, who's to say he can't perform much better against AL opponents, AL pitching? He's not going to have to go up against the Dodgers or the Mets as often. Like, he's going to get sucky AL teams. This guy could hit you at 110 WRC plus.
Here's something I find super interesting too. Last 3 seasons at home, 199 WRC plus, 109, 89. On the road, 110, 112, 111. Higher average, higher OBP. It's interesting. It's interesting because you kind of think Petco is going to play to his skills really well. Maybe it doesn't, and maybe he's better on the road against left-handed pitching. Career 122 WRC plus, 786 OPS. Not as great against righties, but he's like league average-ish against righties. So you live with it, right? But the Yankees need someone who can hit lefties. Ha-Seong Kim hits lefties, so that's another addition, another boost. And also, people are like, well, the offensive downgrade. How much worse of not a hitter. Obviously, Gleyber's a better hitter. How much worse of an offensive player is Ha-Seong Kim? That's the question I think I'm going to get asked the most in the comment section, right? Than Gleyber. And here's the evidence I have. In 423 games over the last 3 years, Ha-Seong Kim has 20.0 Fangraphs offensive runs. That factors in your bat and your base running. And base running is part of offense. It is. That's a fact, right? How you run the bases affects your ability to score runs. Therefore, it's a part of offense. In 452 games, so in 29 more games, Gleyber Torres has 20.4 offensive runs. That's also a sample size where Gleyber has over 200 more plate appearances. If you even out the games played, right? Ha-Seong Kim has generated more offense than Gleyber Torres. That's not hyperbole. That's not BS. That's not bias. That's not he might be gone, so I'm coping. That's hard evidence. That's fact, right? That's an objective fact that Ha-Seong Kim and Gleyber Torres are similarly paced players offensively. And the way that Ha-Seong Kim contributes offense maybe fits the Yankees better than the way Gleyber contributes offense, because I don't know if Gleyber Torres is going to go back to being a home run hitter. Gleyber Torres hit 15 home runs last year. He had a lower slugging percentage. He had the same slugging percentage, 378 to 370, a worse isolated power, and hit 15 home runs in 150 games. Ha-Seong Kim hit 11 home runs in 121 games while having an injury situation. I don't know. Do you trust Gleyber to hit for power again next year?
I like Gleyber.
It's not that I hate him,
I don't want Gleyber to come back because of the defensive issues and the fact that we're trying to prevent runs, and his base running is abysmal. But I will say this, Gleyber is a different player every year. You know what I mean? Every single year, I don't know who the hell Gleyber is going to be. Is he going to be this slap hitter that he punches singles to the outfield like he did the second half of last year? Is he going to hit for power? Is he going to power the ball over the right field wall? Is he going to be ice cold and get into a funk and disappear? You just never know. The Gleyber Torres experience is on any given month, he could be either your best player or your absolute worst player. And I think Ha-Seong Kim is a little bit more consistently average in a lot of different ways, consistently above average in some key categories the Yankees are trying to improve upon. But the experience of Gleyber Torres, if you get him on a downtrend, and we've seen it happen before when we're heading to the playoffs and he's on an ice cold trend, and he's just basically a ghost. We got some really good production out of him the last half of the year, especially in the playoffs this past season. But by no means am I going to sit here and be this guy is going to be returning next year and carry that over into the season, because I would be willing to bet anything Gleyber Torres completely disappears for like half the year. It could be the first half or it could be the second half. That's just the experience with him. So I do think it's kind of crazy to consider, but I think that the Ha-Seong Kim experience, at least you're getting consistently great defense, consistently great base running, and you're getting at least a relatively consistent bat. Gleyber Torres is horrible in multiple categories.
How many runs is this team going to allow per game with Ha-Seong Kim playing second base? Because I'm going to be honest with you, that number is going to be incredibly low. And the other thing I'd like to point out when it comes to what you mentioned about consistency, defense, all that stuff, when Gleyber's slumping, he's kind of useless because he can't play defense and he can't run. When Ha-Seong Kim is slumping, he'll make a game-saving play, and if he gets on base once in the game, you're going to... Oh, my God, I just thought about this, dude. Jazz Chisholm, Ha-Seong Kim, Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, all on the base path.
Great base runners.
Bellinger, too? Are you kidding me, man? 5 of your starting 9 players are going to be firmly above... Like, you're going to have 5 of the best base runners in the game in your lineup. It's a game changer. Yep. It's a game changer. It completely changes the complexion of this team.
Manufacture runs that way. Imagine being able to hit for power and manufacturing runs through base running. That's the combo the Yankees missed a lot of times.
If the Yankees can hit... be top 3 in home runs and top 10 in base running value, they're going to be one of the best. Yeah, they might actually be the best offensive team in baseball at that point, or close to it. Maybe not. Maybe no. I still take the Dodgers. In that regard. But your defense is so good that your position player group might be the best in baseball. Again, and I point to this to say, I point to this to say I'm not trying to be, Mr. Shill. Just say that, just because the team is doing this, that it's good because they're doing it. But like, if you look at projections, and projections do matter. They do matter. I refuse to ignore projections. The Yankees are the 3rd best projected position player group in baseball right now. They don't have a second baseman or third baseman. Doesn't matter what you think, but it's one of the two, right? And they don't have a first baseman. They don't know the right side of their infield. They do not know what the right side of their infield looks like, and they still don't have a left-handed reliever. And they are, well, I guess their bullpen doesn't really factor into this, but my point is they don't have an entire right side of the infield, and they're the 3rd best position player group. The Mets have done most of their heavy lifting. The Orioles are not adding more position players. The Dodgers might add Teoscar Hernandez. So I'm going to keep them in the periphery of I think they'll be pretty good. And like a team that doesn't project very well for some reason that I think should project better is like the Red Sox. I think they'll have a good position player group this year. That's just my opinion. But point overall is the Yankees should be fine at their position player groups right now. Like on paper, they should still win a decent amount of games. They should still make the playoffs, cruise into the playoffs, basically have like a 90% chance to make the playoffs, waltz in, do all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. That's without a right side of the infield. If this team adds a right side of the infield, they might project for like 92, 93 wins. They might be like, and 92, 93 wins, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but like the highest projected win total is 92 wins right now. So, yeah, it's your median outcome. It's the Yankees overperformed their median outcome last year by like 6 games, right? It's a pretty wild swing one way or another. But if you set yourself up to be the best team on paper in the American League by considerable margin, that's very important to me. It's very important to me that this team on paper is very good. Because again, it's what you have to do. You have to construct as good of a team as possible. You have to import as much. Brian Cashman said it himself. We are not done. Stay tuned. All that stuff. Don't use that verbiage if you're not going to go get guys. And so far, every time he said it, he's shown up and he's brought us a big time player. I'm not done after he signs Max Fried. Devin Williams out of freaking nowhere. Guy's about to go to LA and Brian Cashman's like, Hold on. No. We're not forming a super team in LA. Devin Williams, come on down. You want Nestor? You want Durbin? I don't care. You finish that trade off, you play hardball with the Cubs and you say, we're either giving you a lot of money and nobody in return, or we're giving you players in return and we're not eating any money. And the Cubs and the Yankees, to their credit, both of them kind of gave in some regards, but the Yankees basically got to pay. It's basically a free agent contract, right? You sign, if you wanted to rearrange a transaction here, the New York Yankees have signed outfielder and first baseman Cody Bellinger to a 2-year, $47 million deal with the second-year player option, and they've designated Cody Poteet for assignment. That's basically what they did, right? I mean, that's No qualifying offer, no draft picks, no prospects. Your entire war chest of prospects still there. If a team like Spencer Jones, we got Spencer Jones. You like Will Warren, we got Will Warren. You like Chase Hampton, you got Chase Hampton. You like some of our younger guys, whether it's George Lombard Jr., Roderick Arias, Carlos LaGrange, Henry Lillane. You like any of our recent draft picks, Cade Smith, our 2024 draft class, all those guys are eligible to be traded. The Yankees have their war chest of players still, and they have an entire, I'm just saying, they have a lot of stuff they can do in the infield and first base market, on the trade market. I wonder if that's where they go instead of free agency.
That's
for first base.
exactly what I think they're going to do. I think if you get Ha-Seong Kim and you pay him a little bit more just so that he's happy, right? I know you want to play shortstop, but we could add you the second base and you would be a stud for us. You pay him a little bit of money, and then you go to the trade market and you get yourself a thumping first baseman. I mean, there's options available. I mean, Yandy Diaz is not necessarily a thumper, but a high OBP guy, experienced guy. Josh Naylor's a thumper, and Nathaniel Lowe can thump too. So I think you just want to upgrade.
You just want a good bat. Yeah, at this point, the way that they contribute offense, not that it's not relevant. I don't want a guy who's a walking question mark on offense, but I think we can agree, just someone who can hit, you know what I mean? As long as they can hit and play some defense a little bit. Diaz can't, but I think he's the best hitter of that group by a considerable margin. Maybe I'm biased.
Is Lamont Wade Jr. going to get traded or no?
He could be. And look, he could be a high OBP guy and an easy guy to acquire on the market.
and a pitcher.
Right, I don't even think it'd cost Ben Rice. It might cost nothing, and maybe you can. I think what you could do is branch out that trade and make it like a Marcus Stroman, Taylor Rogers,
you could offload that. Yeah.
Get your left-handed pitcher, get your first baseman, throw in a prospect. You got a deal kind of going in there.
You're chilling, dude. Yeah. If you get Lamont Wade Jr., Kim, and offload Stroman's salary, and that allows you to maybe sign another depth piece, or maybe sign somebody else, because that money is a lot of money.
Hoffman for the bullpen, you got
Sanjay Hoffman for the bullpen.
Holy shit!
You are better than you were last year with Juan Soto. That's a way to do.
I wanted to float a crazy idea to you that I've spoken to a couple of friends of mine about this, and I just kind of wanted to shoot the shit here with this. Is there a pitcher that you would sign that you would sign so that you could trade Clark Schmidt or Luis Heel for a bat? Now, I think Luis Heel, it's kind of off the table at this point. I don't think the New York Yankees are particularly interested in just trading Luis Heel to sell high on him. I think the indication is that they'll trade him for a player that can change the franchise, but I don't view any players on the market as someone who can do that on the trade front. Schmidt seems more like the more tradable piece. Now, I like Clark Schmidt a lot. I actually think he's kind of a better pitcher than Luis Heel, so that one would hurt me. Would you do sign Walker Buehler, trade Clark Schmidt for a big time bat or a big time position player like a Brendan Donovan? I know that he's not a superstar, but he's a good player. And then you sign, a Carlos Santana. Would you do that? Buehler, Santana, no QOs. That's about, you save your entire farm system basically. Now, I don't know how in on that I am, just because how important is it to save your farm system versus hey, I think Clark Schmidt's a better pitcher than Walker Buehler right now. That kind of deal. But there is that, postseason aspect to it. And I don't know about you, Alex, but it felt regardless of how Buehler's regular season was going to look, you still had to be damn, he's still a postseason pitcher though, right? Mm-hmm. He's made his money in the postseason. He ended two different teams' seasons. The Yankees, I don't know how creative they're going to get, but again, there are so many lanes for them to get better. There are so many players that can improve their roster. There are so many ways for me to look at this team and go, you know what? Nate Lowe, Josh Naylor, Yandy Diaz, Christian Walker, Carlos Santana with the right infielder. Yeah, I like this team. You know what I mean? A lot of ways that I can go, it's a pretty freaking good team. It's a solid team. This team can... Cody Bellinger, I think people are underrating that Cody Bellinger adds a decent amount of pop to this lineup. He adds some home run power.
Especially in Yankee Stadium. He is the perfect fit in Yankee Stadium. Perfect.
Yes. He could hit 20 to 25 home runs here. If you look at...
he's going to hit 25. He also wants to be a Yankee. This guy's going to put in the work, and he's going to want to play here. He's going to want to win here. And I think that sometimes is an underrated factor in success.
Did you find it funny that Cashman was talking about how much Max Fried wanted to be a Yankee on that press conference? He was like, yeah, when the player also wants to be here. Yeah, when the player, I was like,
I think it plays a part, man.
This is either him just talking to gas up Max Fried, or he's throwing some shade at Soto. I imagine Hal Steinbrenner's not very happy about the outcome. He wasn't there. And it's weird. He was at the Rodon presser. He was at the Judge presser, obviously. I wonder how pissed Hal Steinbrenner is. You know what I mean? I wonder how pissed, how angry, how motivated. I wonder to what extent we're underrating the money he's willing to spend, the decisions he's willing to make, what he's willing to sacrifice short-term and long-term to win the World Series. Would there be a more satisfying World Series to win than the 2025 World Series for the Yankees? Would there be any World Series that would make you sit back and say, for Hal Steinbrenner, for the Yankees fan base, that this World Series would be the sweetest if they won it. It would be the single sweetest. It would be, we lost Soto, but we're still the fucking Yankees. We're still the Yankees. We will still dominate. There's no one player that ends the Yankees. What cultural shift in New York? F that. We're the freaking Yankees. All we do is win. That's what we do, right? That's what, Soto said it himself. And I found it a quote that I think, again, this is what I think fuels that, like, this is the sweetest World Series the Yankees could win if they do it. He said, New York is ran through, like if you run New York, you got to win, right? And he said the Mets have ran New York, he feels like, for a while. Okay. So if we win a title, we run New York. Which, I'm not really I don't care about the pissing contest of that. I know the Yankees are the more valuable franchise. I know the Yankees are the more popular franchise. Like, that's not like fan opinion, that's fact, right? But what I do care about, and I think Hal cares about, is the way his organization's perceived. I think he cares about, we won. I won. I foot the bill. I put it $300 million on the table for this team, and we won. We took it home. We won the title, blah, 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 right? I think that's important to the Yankees. I think that's important to Hal Steinbrenner. I think Hal Steinbrenner wants nothing more than to win this World Series. Yeah. This specific year, I think it would be the most... I think Hal's very motivated. And I think the money so far that he's spent has shown he's very motivated. Mm-hmm. It is not even January, and the man has spent, like, what? So Fried is $27 million a year, and Bellinger's... He spent, like, $50-something million. He's pumped. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm very excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, right now you're looking at this team. More moves are going to be made. You asked me a question before about would I trade Clark Schmidt and then add a starting pitcher. Like, you could go after a Walker Buehler, you could go after a Nick Pivetta. Like, you could do these things. It's going to cost you a little bit more than you probably want. I think Clark Schmidt being controllable and his upside, I don't necessarily want to trade Clark Schmidt. Like, do we need to trade Clark Schmidt? I don't think so. I think you could walk away. You could get a first baseman via trade. You could sign Ha-Sung Kim and walk away happy. And then you'd be fine. Like, wait until the trade deadline. If you want to trade Clark Schmidt, you don't have to trade him right now. You can wait till the deadline. If you need to really upgrade a position, you have the pieces to do so at that point. And you can move controllable pitching. Listen, if we could offload Stroman's contract, acquire Lamont Wade Jr. in the process from the Giants, like, we're doing pretty damn good. Like, that Lamont Wade Jr. would be an awesome fit for the Yankees. Left-handed, high OBP guy, really good batting average. Like, he ticks the boxes for you. So the Yankees, there's a path here to being better than last season, and it involves upgrading your defense substantially in the infield. It involves upgrading your base running substantially. A full year of Jazz will help with that, and Jason Dominguez, of course. Upgrading, a couple of key offensive metrics and a little bit more consistency. You get a good first baseman. I think we're going to trade for first baseman. I don't love Paul Goldschmidt. I think that he is old as hell. I think he is declining. Everything about him says he is not returning back to the MVP form he was at 2 years ago. This is not the same Paul Goldschmidt that we know. He is still a good defender, but he's old, man. Like, he can't really run that much anymore. I mean, his power's declining. His eye is declining. Like, he's just not the same player. I know people will mention Nolan Arenado at third base. He blocked a trade to the Astros. Don't love that as well, unless the Cardinals are going to eat like $15 million on that contract. If they left us with Nolan Arenado and it's like a 3-year, $30 million deal in the end, I could justify that. I could see how that makes sense for the Yankees. He's still an elite defensive player at third base. Still going to hit 273 last year. Like, I could take that. Contract, $10 million a year for that. I could do that because he's so experienced too. A leader in that clubhouse, a guy that's going to walk in and be a pro from day one. Like, that's valuable. So, what do you think about that? If they were going to eat $15 million on that contract, would you consider it at that point?
No, because the bat doesn't play at all here. Like, it's a little, it's a profile that I'm very concerned about. I don't know. I'm just not super in on Nolan Arenado. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I wouldn't say I'm in on the Arenado. I would say if they were going to eat a significant amount of money, I'd consider it. But I'd still rather go with Ha-Sung Kim. I'd still rather go trade for a first baseman. Like, and the thing is, like, the second base market is so weak, so you have to also open up the third base market because Jazz can play both positions.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to consider every possibility. I think Bregman. I'm hearing, at least according to MLB Network, that the Red Sox like Bregman too, and there's more of a possibility that the Red Sox get him than the Yankees, which I think makes sense because the Yankees don't have 26 mil to spend on an infield that's 31 next year.
I think we're at the point where like another long-term deal feels like out of the cards. There's a chance, if
After
the
getting
market
Bellinger, it doesn't
falls,
make sense for us.
If the market falls, something happens.
You never
happen,
know,
right?
You never know. But like, it's definitely a weaker class in the infield this year, and I don't think the Yankees want to tie up that much money because I think they want to have a chance at getting Kyle Tucker in free agency next year. You know what I mean? So I think that right now you kind of wait it out, you save your pennies, and you live to see another day. You upgrade with 12, 13, 14 mil for Ha-Seong Kim as a drop in the bucket long term, especially because eventually that money will just replace DJ LeMahieu's contract.
And I also wonder, we talked about first base. Jeff Passan dropped an article, or Passan dropped an article talking about the first base position, or talking about various upgrades. Mentioned, Wade, Naylor, and Lowe as trade targets. I think at this point, we're going to be looking here and saying, if the Yankees can get the right kind of, I think Nathaniel Lowe and Ha-Seong Kim is attainable. That's where I think I'm at. Like, if you offer Ben Rice and a reliever, you're getting Nathaniel Lowe, I think. Controllable reliever, of course. So
I think so.
I wonder where the Yankees are going to be headed in that regard, but it seems that they are, at the very least, there's a path like that. Seems like the path that's like realistic, and like I would be very happy with that. I think the Yankees would be, holy shit, they'd be fucking good. I'm sorry about my language, but
if you had a little
really
bit extra,
freaking good defensively,
they would be,
and they'd be a pretty good offensive team. The one thing you'd say is, they don't have a ton of power. They don't have enough power in that lineup, maybe. But the home runs, even they would have 4 guys projected. I think what you're kind of hoping for if you're the Yankees is so if you have Judge, Stanton, Chisholm, Bellinger, Dominguez, Lau, those are probably going to be 6 guys right there that could be in that 20 home run range. Wells is also in that conversation. I don't think Volpe is going to hit 20 home runs next year unless he makes the power change that he needs to make, and I don't want to bank on that. I'm relying on him to be not a great hitter and a really good defensive player. I think that's a fair projection at this point. But you'd have a really deep lineup. Like, you'd have how many holes? Maybe Volpe, right? Like, that's like your hole in the offense, and he's one of the best defensive players in his position. It's a premium defensive position too. I look at that and go, it's a pretty freaking good team. I don't know what is available in the infield. I don't want to trade for Luis Rengifo. I'm sorry. He's a horrible defensive player. He is a BABIP machine. He is not going to play very well at Yankee Stadium. But I am very interested in Ha-Seong Kim. So, I think that's where I'm kind of headed with the situation now. I don't know. It's weird, that infield, second base, third base market, but
I'd be drying up. With that. Like, it's also cheaper than, like, Gleyber Torres is not going to get a big contract. The bullpen market's dry. Like, it's not, people aren't getting big contracts, and Tanner Scott would have already signed if there was one. Jeff Hoffman too. So, like, it doesn't seem like the bullpen market, like, teams are like going cost efficient routes nowadays. Like, they know, like, these guys are volatile, injury prone a lot of times. They're just not leaning into it. Like, the Mets kind of are trying to transition Clay Holmes. He wants to pitch 160 innings next year. Like, they're kind of a band of misfit toys in their starting rotation at the moment. I think they'll probably look to acquire like a Dylan Cease or something like that, but we'll see. The Yankees have a elite starting rotation now with Max Fried, elite bullpen with Devin Williams, and obviously you could argue they could add another piece there, maybe bring back Tommy Kahnle, who had a really good year last season. So I do think that there's a lot of options for the Yankees right now. Ha-Seong Kim is one of those guys that, like, he's a pretty good fit for us, and he upgrades 2 major weaknesses of ours.
Defense,
last season.
base running. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And then he's not a bad bat. Like, he's a good bat. He's a slightly above average piece there, and maybe there's room for upside in the AL. He's going from a stronger division to a much weaker one. So who knows? Things could change for him offensively for the better. But guys, always happy to hear your thoughts down below in the YouTube comment section about Ha-Seong Kim, how you feel the infield should kind of play out. Obviously, Oswaldo Cabrera, Oswald Peraza, miss me and Ryan with that. We do not want to dabble in those waters at the moment, even though Cashman says, like maybe internal options. We know he is just talking to talk. There are moves being made. So we'll keep you guys updated if we hear anything. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.